Welcome back to Capital Catch-Up. I'm Victor.
And I'm Lenny. Today we are unpacking a significant slate of legislative activity from mid-February 2026, ranging from critical infrastructure modernization to long-overdue recognition for military heroism.
We have a lot of ground to cover, including a raft of new nominations and some interesting procedural moves in both chambers. Let's start with the push for government efficiency. We're seeing a bicameral effort to drag federal bureaucracy into the digital age.
That's right. First up is House Resolution 1665, the Digital Applications Act. The acronyms are always clever, but the substance here is about mandating that government agencies make forms and applications available online in a user-friendly format. It sounds basic, but for anyone who has tried to apply for federal benefits using a PDF you have to print and mail, this is a game changer.
It ties right into Senate Bill 3709, the Streamlining Federal Grants Act of 2026. This is about removing the red tape that local governments and nonprofits face when trying to access federal funds. It's an infrastructure issue. If the money is there but the application process is a 2-year nightmare, the bridge doesn't get built.
Speaking of infrastructure, we also saw Senate Bill 3789, the Prospectus Modernization Act of 2026. This is a bit more technical, likely dealing with how the General Services Administration handles leases and building projects. But again, the theme is efficiency.
Shifting gears to public health and daily life, there's a bill that caught my eye because of its immediate impact on everyday Americans with specific medical conditions. House Resolution 3299, the Restroom Access Act of 2025.
This is a vital piece of legislation, Victor. It's often called Alley's Law in state legislatures. It essentially mandates that retail businesses allow people with specific medical conditions like Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, or IBD to use employee restrooms if no public ones are available. It's a matter of basic dignity and emergency health access.
Absolutely. And in a similar vein of public support, we have companion legislation moving through both chambers, House Resolution 7269 and Senate Bill 3769, both titled the Helping Our People Act of 2026.
When we see identical bills dropped in the House and Senate simultaneously, what we call companion bills, it usually signals a coordinated push by leadership to get something to the president's desk quickly. While the text is still being analyzed, the title suggests a focus on social safety nets or disaster relief flexibility.
That dovetails with House Resolution 7307, the Supplies Act. Given the supply chain shocks we faced over the last few years, this likely targets the Strategic National Stockpile or small business supply chain resilience.
Let's move to justice and sovereignty. We have another set of companion bills, House Resolution 7490 and Senate Bill 3041, the Tribal Warrant Fairness Act.
This is a massive issue for Indian country. Historically, tribal law enforcement has struggled to have their arrest warrants recognized by off-reservation authorities, creating dangerous loopholes where violent offenders can flee tribal lands to avoid prosecution. This legislation would mandate full faith and credit for these warrants.
It builds on the Violence Against Women Act reauthorizations from previous years, further closing those jurisdictional gaps. It's about ensuring that a warrant issued by a tribal court carries the same weight as one from a county or state judge.
Now, looking at our public lands, we have Senate Bill 3785, the North Rim and Kaibab National Forest Restoration Act of 2026. This targets the ecosystem health in Arizona, specifically around the Grand Canyon. It's likely focused on wildfire prevention and forest management.
Which is a perfect transition to the nominations because the administration is moving to fill key environmental posts. We saw the nomination of Scott Socha to be director of the National Park Service and Kevin Lilly to be Assistant Secretary for Fish and Wildlife.
Socha and Lilly will have their hands full implementing things like the North Rim Act if confirmed, but the nominations list was dominated by the State Department this week.
It really was. We have Jeremy Carl nominated as Assistant Secretary of State for International Organizations and Wesley Brooks for Oceans and International Environmental and Scientific Affairs. Plus, William Long is tapped for Ambassador to Iceland and Robert Sweeney as Director of the Asian Development Bank.
And don't forget Todd Stegerda, nominated as representative to the UN and other organizations in Geneva. This suggests a major staffing refresh in our diplomatic corps, specifically regarding how we interact with multilateral institutions.
On the domestic regulatory front, Christopher T. Hansen has been renominated to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission for a term ending in 2029. With the current push for nuclear energy as a clean power source, his continuity there is significant.
And Ashley Stowe has been nominated to the Federal Election Commission. With the midterms approaching, the FEC is always a hot seat.
Circling back to legislation, we need to touch on fiscal policy. Senate Bill 3748, the Terminate Unaccountable Spending, Abuse, Deception, and Fraud Act, was introduced. The title is aggressive, and it likely sets up new auditing mechanisms for federal programs.
That pairs with the Save America Act, which appeared as both Senate Bill 3752 and House Resolution 7296. These titles often act as acronyms for broader policy agendas, potentially regarding voter eligibility or energy independence. We will need to watch the committee markups to see the specific language.
Finally, on a note of historical correction and honor, we have House Resolution 3377 and Senate Bill 3781. These bills authorize the President to award the Medal of Honor to James Capers Jr.
Major James Capers Jr. is a legend in the Marine Corps recon community. He was the first African-American Marine to command a force recon company in Vietnam. He participated in over 50 classified missions. This legislation waives the time limits that usually restrict Medal of Honor awards, acknowledging that his records were likely classified for decades.
It's a powerful moment when Congress steps in to ensure valor is recognized, regardless of how much time has passed.
To wrap up, we reviewed the congressional records for February 12th through the 20th, specifically Volume 172, numbers 30 through 34. These records document the introduction of all these measures and the floor debates that are shaping up.
So, what should listeners watch for? Keep an eye on the Helping Our People Act. With companion bills in both chambers, it's on the fast track. Also, watch the Senate Foreign Relations Committee for hearings on that long list of diplomats.
And we'll be tracking the Tribal Warrant Fairness Act as it moves through the judiciary committees. That's all for this edition of Capital Catch-Up.
Thanks for listening. Stay engaged.